Alrighty. Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with my friend Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing?
Good. Feeling the awesomeness. We were in a
Yeah.
small town hockey tournament in Two Hills, Alberta,
Oh, yeah.
which
How was that?
one of the teams that I coached, the Southwest Zone 531 Oil Kings. It's a
Oh, yeah.
bantam team, and we organized the tournament out there. You can get ice out in these small towns, and 6 teams from all over the province came, and it was a really fun tournament. And in the end, we beat our arch rival, St. Albert, where you're from, in a thrilling 7-6 3-on-3 overtime game. So
Wow.
everyone was thrilled on our
7-6.
team.
So you saw a very different game earlier today than you saw tonight.
Yeah, tonight's game was some
Like
pretty
pretty
hard
wide open.
slogging.
Pretty wide open, eh?
I really liked that game, actually. I just the orders are starting to make sense in terms of the line combinations, the team, the way they're playing. They won 1-0. They outchanced Calgary 11-7. They even got some breaks from the referee.
Well, they certainly got some calls from the referee. I'm going to give the referee some credit here. I thought the 3 penalties in a row they called on Calgary in the third period were all penalties, but normally you see the refs turn a blind eye to at least 1 or 2, if not all 3 of them, especially when the team is trailing. But, the guy slashed Puljujärvi's stick and the stick broke. That's a penalty, and they called it a penalty. So, in a perfect world, Matthew Tkachuk would lose the cloak of invisibility and be actually subject to the same rule book as all the other players. But this isn't a perfect world, so let's just leave it there.
Cross-checking in the back. How many cross-checks would he have to make before he got a penalty, Bruce? 3 or 4 wasn't enough, evidently. So how many would it take? I don't know.
Yeah, we're not sure.
So this is the 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast, Bruce. Excuse me. I'm going to go with my good thing as the Nugent Hopkins line. And I thought, of course, they didn't get a goal. Weren't on for a goal against, but I just thought they played well all game. That is a fast line. And I think as they're starting to develop some chemistry already. They're starting to work together a little bit better. I thought Nugent Hopkins and Puljujärvi were combining a little bit better, and Kyra is a good glue player on that line. And I really root for Jesse Puljujärvi. He who knows where his career is going to go. Like, I just can't tell you. I don't know if he's going to be a really good player or if he's going to be out of the NHL in 2 or 3 years, and it could go either way. But I'm continued to be impressed with his size and speed and his reach and his skill, and I just hope it all comes together in a player. And it's great to see him having this second life under Hitchcock and earning some ice time, not a ton of ice time, but earning some ice time, and earning the respect of the coach, Bruce, because in the last minute of a 1-0 game, the Oilers were desperate to win. They're desperate to win them all. They're still 1 point out of a playoff spot right now. They have a record of 16 wins and 14 losses, so they're really trending in the right direction under Hitchcock. But in an absolutely critical, crucial game, who does he have out there? Puljujärvi, Kyra, and RNH. And even after they had been out there for about a minute, and there was 10 seconds to go, he kept them out there. I think he likes the ranginess of those 2 wingers in terms of getting stick on puck and blocking shots and stopping things from getting into the slot. And there wasn't a good Calgary chance. I was hoping there'd be an Edmonton goal, of course, a cheapy goal by RNH or Puljujärvi or Kyra, but they held on and they were out there. And for me, as a Puljujärvi and RNH, I'm a fan of all 3 of those players. I mean, I'm a fan of every Oilers player, but I just like to see them succeed, and they certainly did that in that game.
Yeah, as an Oilers fan, I root for all the players, as an ongoing thing. Some I particularly prefer, of course, but I don't like to get into this business of targeting guys and being all over their case. At least try to avoid it. And
you do a good job of that, Bruce.
They're my team, right? Of course, I'm rooting for them. So it's I give poor Cassian a hard time occasionally, I have to admit, but he has it coming occasionally too. I also have to admit. So, anyways, they uh,
What's your good thing?
come together. Well, my good thing. I'm gonna give some credit to the kindly old coach Ken Hitchcock tonight for his judicious use of timeouts, which he used the same timeout twice and to advantage both times. The first time, of course, is when he challenged the Calgary apparent tying goal that bounced in off the plug at the edge of the crease there after some pressure in the Edmonton zone. They couldn't get a change in on the long change in the center, and the two D men were stuck out there for a long shift. But Hitchcock correctly, and I think the officials in the war room correctly called that a no goal because Koskinen couldn't move his leg the way he should have because the guy was behind him and in the blue paint. The contact was fairly incidental, but the guy was behind him and in the blue paint. There was no question about where contact occurred, and I'm thinking while it's going on, I'm thinking the ref is probably not saying, what do I say to Anthony when he unlike the infamous "What do I say to Corey" incident.
So pathetic.
Anthony, yeah, I'm still pissed about that. Anyway,
We only bring it up once every 2 or 3 weeks. So,
well, I mean, anytime there's a review, I mean, that series has a few of the go-to crimes of the century. Anyways, he used the timeout there, and then in the third period, he used it in the most unconventional manner, I thought, and certainly something you would never ever see Todd McCollum do, like the way he did. And that was when the Oilers had the 3 power plays in a row, and the first 2 of them stank to high heaven. They couldn't make a pass, they couldn't control the puck, they couldn't keep it in Calgary's end. And then the third one kind of started out the same way, and there was a whistle a minute into it. And the first unit had been out there for a minute, and there was like 5 minutes to go in the game. Usually you think he's going to hold it right to the last minute. But to me, a timeout in the last minute generally benefits both teams. And this was a situation where Hitchcock called his timeout, gave his troops a chance to rest, and on the bench, he was kind of giving them the gears. And my take was, he was saying, this is our chance to win the game. Go for it. Do something for God's sake. And, in the last minute of that third power play, they had 2 great chances. They rang the inside of the goalpost. McDavid hit one off the inside of the post and went right across and out the other side, right, almost went. And Nuge got robbed by that David Riddick, who was a really good goalie. And they did more. And, what they did in that last minute was the thing that the commentators often say about power plays. If you don't score, what you can't do is lose the momentum. And they'd really done that with the previous 2. And you know what? Bill Peters in the post game, he said, those penalties hurt us, not because they cost us a goal, but they really gave Edmonton the momentum coming down the stretch. After that third power play, even though there was still 4 minutes to go, Edmonton really played well, right down to the buzzer. A couple nervous moments with the puck in their end, right with the goalie out, but I think they used that timeout call as a bit of a springboard. And I'm going to credit Hitch. That was a good call, and it worked out. So,
a lot going right with Hitchcock. I mean,
7-2-1, David.
The lines that he has right now, Bruce, they're working. I mean, that flat line, he's put all the problem players in one basket formally, and they're hanging in there.
The flattened line tonight, man, did Lucic ever smoke Hamonic? I made a little joke on Twitter, and a lot of people liked it. That new feature on the concession at Rogers Palace is smoked Hamonic.
The Nuge line's looking like it might be a line. They got to start scoring. The McDavid. You're stacking the McDavid line. I'm not sold on Chason personally. I'd rather have Tyrati up there. I think
Chason sure made a nice pass to McDavid.
Oh, that's
tonight.
true. That is true.
That was the goal. I mean, I was surprised, but that was a pretty pass. It's not his normal forte, but tonight it was a big play at the right moment. Fair
enough. And the fourth line's, it's an interesting, I mean, I think the fourth line is the flat line, honestly, but not in terms of ice time. I mean, they who's out on that? Ratty, Spooner, and the new guy. What his name? Alexei Zhitnik in a headline.
Zikov, yeah.
Valentin Zikov. Yeah, there you go.
He played 7 minutes tonight, and Spooner played 8 minutes, and Ratty played just under 10, and the uh, Brodziak line was 14, 13, and 15. So they were clearly the third line tonight,
Yes,
as I
yeah.
predicted in pregame, that with the Battle of Alberta, that the big boys would get plenty of ice, and they did.
They're
They
playing
did.
fine. They're playing okay. I don't have a problem with them. It'll be interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see when Reader comes back. Um,
Yeah, where does he
yeah.
go?
Okay, so my bad thing, Bruce, will be just when the Flames. I had a little bit of um, PTSD to the McClellan's second last game as NHL coach in the last part of the second period and early in the third. When the Flames get it going on the attack, man, they can really hem you into the offensive zone. I have to watch a little more closely what they're doing because they must be really aggressively pinching
They're
and
doing a lot of things right,
they're
David.
doing a
That's
lot
a
of
good team.
they are doing a lot of good things on the attack. They're playing very aggressively. It's very impressive to see them take over a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Edmonton was the better team tonight, but
Mm-hmm.
Calgary is a scary team and could easily have won that game, obviously. But the Oilers held the fort generally, and when they didn't, there was the 3 meter man, Mikko Koskinen.
Yeah, technically he is 2 meters, which is a pretty rare player in the NHL. Six foot
Yes,
seven. It's basically it's 200 centimeters.
I guess they tack on a meter for his skates.
Oh, right.
Must
Anyway,
be that.
his huge size actually played to his disadvantage that one time when Bennett. Another good call when Bennett came in on the when he deked Nurse out of his shorts and came in and he banged into Koskinen hard and he didn't let up and it was goalie interference. But because Koskinen was so tall, he wanged his head off the crossbar as he went into the net. Koskinen was pissed. He came out
Bennett.
after Bennett a little bit, and he because he got his most goalies are they would have just gone into the net because he was already down on his knees and kind of folded over, and he still had enough height to catch a piece of the crossbar with the back of his head. So good thing they put the wraparound masks on the goalies these days.
Yeah, I thought it might have get him in the middle of the back. He is he's gargantuan,
He is.
Dryden-esque Mikko Koskinen.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way he's playing. What's not to love? So, what is your bad thing, Bruce?
Oh, well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I haven't got a lot of bad to say about this game, and this is a kind of tongue-in-cheek remark, but it's a bad thing in the sense that what's bad is how good is Calgary, and as a non-Calgary fan of some long standing, um, seeing them um, seeing them rise up the ranks, it's kind of a mixed blessing. I mean, you want to see meaningful games between the two teams, but tonight they were playing their third game in 4 nights, back to back, short rest on the road after a travel day. Now they write that in
Bruce, what is
the
tinkling there? There's something tinkling.
oh, that is my dog's call. That's the tag, her dog tag hitting the ceramic food bowl as she eats her dinner. Every
Okay.
time we hear
Now
that
that I know,
tinkling,
I feel I'm calmer now.
that's
It was making me nervous, but now I know what it is. I'm calm. Okay.
that's Dusty chowing down.
All right.
So it's a
That's
common
the
sound in this
that's the
house.
sound of happiness.
So yeah, exactly. So anyway, they it was a scheduled loss, as the analytics people have it when when a team faces that many disadvantages in their schedule. Now add into that the disadvantage that they lost their captain, top defenseman, and offensive kingpin from the blue line, Mark Giordano, to 2 game suspension. They had a tough game against the Wild um, the other night, just before the Wild came here, and Giordano got suspended, and in the same game, which was a nasty game apparently, Michael Backlund, the guy that they usually used to play against McDavid, got hurt, got a concussion. So he was out. Giordano was out, and that's a real tall order when you say to the team, hey, tonight you got to check Connor McDavid. The whole team is tired, and you don't have your best defenseman, and you don't have your shutdown center. Good luck with that. And they made a game of it. And I mean, they didn't score, and I mean, but they are a good team. I had a good deep dive into some of their stats and just their production numbers today, and man, they've got it going on, and they're and depth. Like their third and fourth lines are pretty good. Their defense is strong up and down. Obviously, they got good goaltending now that Mike Smith has got his game turned around, and we've seen Riddick twice now, and he was good in both games. And
Yeah, they've
so,
gone to some real puck movers. They have the top four. They've made a couple of key trades there with Hanifin and Hamonic. But
mm-hmm,
they on the bottom they have this Rasmus Anderson and Yusuf Valimaki.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Valimaki's hurt right now, and
Like Stone also plays.
of course, they had to
Had to go to
resort
Dalton
to
Prout.
Dalton Prout, exactly. But he's like their eighth or ninth defenseman, and that's like the Oilers having to use Jason Garrison. He'd be the equivalent
Totally.
player to them.
Yeah, but
So,
they have some guys who can move the puck
so,
back there.
so
In those.
Calgary getting good is my bad thing, but I tip my hat. They're a good club.
Okay, Bruce, my number is. Oh, what did I do with my number? Here we go. My number is .929,
Okay.
which is, of course, Mikko Koskinen's save percentage. So Koskinen's third in the NHL, Bruce.
Wow.
And the only two guys ahead of him are at 930, Pekarine and Yaroslav Halak. So
Wow.
he's up there in the company. Other guys in that same group, Bruce, are Vasilevsky, Frederick Anderson, John Gibson, Ben Bishop.
I was just going to ask, any Canadians on that list? Oh, the first five names he gave were Euros.
Well, my
Anyway,
goodness. Jack Campbell's American. He's next. Then Casey DeSmith.
wow.
Yeah, is he Canadian? David Riddick from Calgary. Is he Canadian? I
No,
think
he's a Czech.
Ryan Miller.
He's a Yank.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Let's keep going here. Jimmy Howard.
I think he's a Yank.
Curtis McElhaney.
He's a good old Canadian boy, I think, but he's like a 35-year-old backup, but he's
Carter
still a good
Hutton.
goalie. Yeah.
17th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a real dearth of Canadian talent in net right now, isn't there? Like, who'd start for Braden Holtby's number 24 at 9/11?
Who'd start for Canada in the Olympics? Probably Carey Price, but he'd have to win the job, but he'd still probably be the sort of incumbent favorite.
Whew. He's 34th for goalies who have played more than 10 games. 902 save percentage.
Yeah, that's not too good. But
Cam Talbot is 43rd, 895. But he's coming back. Like, so
929 for Koskinen. And you know what? On home ice, he's 970. He's played 7 games, started 6 of them. He's 6-0. He's allowed 6 goals. His goals against average is 0.91, and his save percentage is 0.97. Literally, his save percentage is higher than his goals against average, even with the decimal point. Like, that's hard to do. Because you have to have a goals against average below 1 before that even becomes possible, right? It's one funky stat on Koskinen. He's faced exactly 198 shots home and away, and he's allowed 6 on home ice and 22 on away ice. Whether that's a thing or whether it's just the way it's been, or whether the team in front of him's had poor outings on the road or whatever. But so far, he's been much, much better. He's been okay on the road most games, but he's been much, much better at home. Like, he's almost been unbeatable. 3 shutouts and 6 starts.
Wow. Yeah, let's see. Shutouts. Yeah, 3. Does he lead the league? Let me just check here.
There's some guy out
5.
there,
Fleury's got 5.
Yeah.
Gabe's got 3 as well.
There's your Canadian goalie, Marc-Andre Fleury.
He probably would be Canada's goalie. Bruce, so what is your number?
My number is 6. And that is the number of hits by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in this game, who came out guns blazing, and he was taking the body, and he wasn't taking any shit from Calgary Flames. And I loved it. There was Kachuk that cross-checked him. He was on, I think, the penalty kill, and Nuge shot it in deep. And Kachuk just gave him a free shot in the small of the back, because all shots are free when you're Matthew Kachuk with your cloak of invisibility, as we know. And Nuge just turned around and just hacked him right back. And to the ref's credit, he didn't call either one. Normally, you'd think you're going to get called on the retaliation. You know how it works. And Nuge went to the bench, and they showed him talking to whoever was next to him on the bench. And he wasn't like looking angry, but he was looking determined. Let's call it determined. And I was kind of reading his lips, and he said, I was just going to give it to him back. And he just played with that kind of determination in this game. He had four shots on net to go with those 6 hits, 2 block shots, the only 2 by any forwards. He had 21 minutes 42 seconds ice time. Like, he played a big role in this game, and
He's so crucial, Bruce, when they put Draisaitl up there. I mean,
mhm,
last year they saddled him with Lucic usually, very
mhm,
often, at least on the second line, at least in the first part of the year, and that was a disaster.
mhm.
I mean, Lucic he's just like what we see now was not yet then realized by the coach that he can't play in these skill positions, but he had him there all year, and that's really saddled Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't know, like it was making me think maybe Nuge can't drive a line, like maybe he's a little overrated in that regard, but he's stepping up here right now with these 2 young guys with Kyra and Puljujärvi, and he's leading them,
well, his line
and
got
that'll be
outshot.
fantastic.
His line got outshot tonight, but you know what? They didn't get beat. I didn't think there was other. I guess they were on for the disallowed goal, or he was, but
Yeah,
I
he
didn't think
screened the
they.
goalie.
I don't think they gave up a lot, and they did get um, a lot of pushback from the Nuge, and some of it in the offensive zone, some of it on the power play. Man, he had a couple of good looks on the power play, and Riddick stoned him.
Yeah,
And
I don't have any of them making a mistake on a grade A chance against. Not one player on that line.
well,
McDavid had a kind of a rough night in that regard.
mm-hmm.
He was a prime culprit on a number of grade A scoring chances, but not that line. They and not the flat line.
Mm-hmm.
So um,
A flattened line. You know what? Tonight they had 14 hits, 9 of them by Zach Cassian. Like,
he
so I
just was.
talk about Nuge because 6 hits for Nuge is like totally out of the norm, but Cassian was flying all over the ice and creaming everybody.
He's playing
So
such great hockey, Cassian.
he deserves a mention. He didn't have any shots tonight, but he did. He landed his shots on the other guys, and they did their job.
Yeah, when Shirley gave Cassian that, what is it, 1,000,009 for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
this is the player he had in mind. This is what he thought he was getting, and finally he's getting it. So, what
Mm-hmm.
do
Well,
you think,
tonight,
Bruce? Can the Oilers keep it up? Can they keep doing this?
7-2-1 is really pushing it, but they're giving me the impression that they're going to compete in games, and we're going to have a few white knuckle rides along the way. I mean, they're not blowing many teams out. The Minnesota game, very much the exception, and even that was no blowout until very late going. Uh, but they've been hanging on for dear life to these 1-goal leads, and uh, somehow are hanging on, getting the game into overtime, and finding a way to win it then. And they're competing hard, and it really, as a fan, that's the first and most important thing you can hope for. I hate it when a team folds. Like, that's you remember how angry I was, and I think we probably both were when after the first Calgary game, when the Oilers played hard for about 30 or 35 minutes, and then they had nothing left in the third period, and Calgary just took it to them for 20 minutes. And tonight there was no. I mean, Calgary had 4 shots in the third period tonight. 4 shots trying to come from behind, 1-0 deficit. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, usually a team has, even a good team has about maybe 1 in 10 stinker games. Bruce, would you say
Mm-hmm.
1 in 10,
Oh
where they
yeah.
just and then
Uh,
a bad team has about 1 in 5. You have 1 in 5, you're going to get fired as a coach. And last year the Oilers had 1 in 5, and they were averaging at least one
the
in five
last
this
10
year.
years, I had at least 1-5,
Yeah,
1 3.
yeah. So, but that's what got McClellan fired, and then because they put about 1 in 5, they had about 4 out of 5 in a row, and that was it, or maybe it was 3 out of 5. But that's not it's not acceptable.
Well,
People are paying so much money for these tickets.
they lost 6 out of 7. You'll recall.
Yeah,
And they put up a bit of a stinker in Florida. I didn't hate the game as much, but many people thought it was a real bad game. And so I'll have to respect the opinion of the majority. I do know they came back and they played Colorado on a Sunday night after that road trip, and it was a rotten, horrible, no good game at all. They lost 4-1, trailed 4-0, and then they won one game, and then they went right back to losing in Calgary and at home to Vegas, and that was it for McClellan, because they did
yeah.
play, say, about 3 out of 5 that were poor games, and they just didn't show much sign of turning it around. So the move was made.
it's a little early to like, and who wants to crow about someone getting fired? But a lot of people, including myself, were wanting a coaching. I wanted a coaching change at that time, but it's too early to tell. I think whether this is going to pay off in the long term, but or Hitchcock's going to work out, and whether it's was it the roster or the coach? That big question, and that some fans debate. And I just think though that coach had come to the end. He was past his best before date,
Well,
and
he
and
seemed
they
to have
just
run out of solutions with the hand he'd been dealt. And my understanding was that when he got fired, I read in a couple of different places, pretty reliable sources, that he really blasted both
sure.
Shirelli and Nicholson on his way out the door for the quality of the hand he was dealt. But I mean, basically, Ken Hitchcock's been dealt that same hand,
Yeah,
and
we'll see how it plays out over the year.
he's been able to finesse a few a few wins out of it so far. So we'll see if he kills Draisaitl with these 24 minutes a night, night after night, or cost.
Draisaitl can handle that. I think Draisaitl can handle that. He can play that much. The interesting thing I think, when I listen to like McClellan loyalists who are kind of insiders, the thing they stress was the Oilers didn't have that defenseman. They never got that defenseman. They never traded for that Tyson Barrie. They never picked up that offensive defenseman, and which is a completely fair comment. I mean,
Sure it is.
the Oilers lack that really good defenseman, and ever since Andre Sekera got hurt, they've lacked them. And it would be nice if they had that player. Maybe they'll have him next year with Evan Bouchard, but they're not going to have him this year. They're going to have to make the playoffs with this kind of weird defensive unit. I'm still not loving Darnell Nurse that holding penalty. You could see it coming a million miles away. What is he doing wrapping his arms around that player in that situation? And maybe that should have been my bad thing. I mean, I just thought, like, why are you doing? Why are you grabbing him? What is that? What good is that anyway? You're just asking for a penalty. You're going to get one, and lo and behold, you got one. But I guess I don't want to go off on Nurse too much. He's becoming a little bit of a. I'm not on. I haven't been on Twitter that much lately, but I'm sure he's getting beat up pretty good. So
Oilers pitched shutout tonight, so I'm not going to crap on any of the defensemen or the goalie.
Yeah,
or really
and Nurse
got a shutout. Nurse had some good moments. Chris Russell had some good moments. When he was on the ice, Koskinen made 6 saves and Russell blocked 7 shots.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, Chris Russell he has been really good, I think, all year long, or at least good. That's not. I won't get
good. I think he's covering his bet. Like, he's nothing outstanding. We've had this conversation before, but I'd hate to think of where the Oilers would be on their second pairing. If Matt Benning, he's good on the third pairing, and the second pairing consistently he hasn't been good, and now he's back on the third pairing. Matt Benning mentioned this before. Same thing tonight. 12 shot attempts, four against during Matt Benning's time tonight. Like, the puck was in Calgary's end most of the time he was out there.
This is truly the scary thing to contemplate. Would be an injury to the Oilers' defensive core, like one of those top 4 guys.
When Larson went down with that headshot the other night, I was just, and he went to the quiet room. I was just saying, I almost don't care about this game so much as you don't want to lose a player like that to, I mean, concussions are so scary in so many different ways that you just, but fortunately.
Yeah, they need Larson, and they need Clefbaum.
The dour Swede just came back after his 15 minutes timeout and just went right back to doing what he was doing. 6 hits that game, 5 tonight. He just keeps on dishing out the punishment, but also making the plays. He made a couple of great, almost goal-saving defensive plays tonight.
Has he been benched recently by his coach, Bruce Adam Larson?
I don't think so. There was one night in LA where you wanted him benched, but he's. I think he's just a reliable guy that they're going to keep throwing over the boards every second or third shift from here to eternity.
I was just trolling the biggest Taylor Hard diehards with that comment, Bruce.
He's a Swedish Gator. Right? Would you ever bench Gator? Probably not.
No, I would never. You don't bench Adam Larson. I mean, he's given it his all always. I wonder why they benched Hall that night. And have you ever heard why they benched him?
Nope. I can guess, but I haven't heard.
Yeah.
But
probably some defensive miscue or flyby, something like that. All right. let's leave it there, Bruce. We're just going on and on here. At least I am.
Well,
All
hey,
right.
it's not every day or week or even month that we beat the Flames. So let's have a bit of fun when it happens. Good game, enjoyed it. Tense game, but I think better team by a little bit, won by a little bit.
Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.